How many videos have you seen of people going to Japanese Pokemon card stores to buy Pokemon cards? Plenty, right? Well, how many videos have you seen of people going to those same stores to try and sell Pokemon cards? Probably not that many. Well, that's what I tried to do in this video. Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another video. This is going to be a deep dive, in-depth video about what it's like selling the Japanese Pokemon cards. We have a lot of numbers, a lot of offers. It's going to be very interesting. Um, when I started doing this, I didn't expect to sell anything. It was just going to be for science. I would come home with all my slabs. That was my plan, but I actually ended up selling some cards to those stores. Um, I did not expect that. It was interesting. Some of the offers were absolutely crazy. And I was able to buy something very cool for the personal collection with some of the money I got from selling cards. And I'll, of course, show that at the end of the video, so stay tuned. But first, let's look at the cards that I brought with me to sell. So 11 cards I had with me that day. It was an Aerodactyl V Altar from Lost Abyss, Spike-Eared Pichu. We got the 2 ANA promos as a sequential set, Professor Elm's Lecture, the Pikachu from the Rampardos half deck, another kind of deck Pikachu starter pack XY, the Mega Charizard EX from that same starter pack, the Rayquaza EX Pokemon Center promo, the beginning set Black and White Pikachu Holo promo, and then the 155 XY promo Hoopa that I talked about in my last video. So these were the 11 cards I had with me. A little bit of backstory real quick. I live in Japan. I spent my summers in Switzerland. I always bring cards with me to sell in Switzerland. And these are cards I had listed for sale online in Switzerland. Actually, I didn't list all of these because I decided against listing some of them when I was there. But these are all the cards that I didn't sell. And so I brought them back to Japan with me. And I figured, let's use these cards to make this experiment. I went to 3 stores. I would have loved to go to more stores, but I didn't have that much time in Tokyo, and this whole process takes a long time. It's very slow. But the 3 stores I picked, I think, are very interesting. I picked those 3 stores for specific reasons. They're all a little bit different, and I think it makes for a very interesting comparison. So let me tell you about the stores. The first store I went to was PDG Collector Shop in Akihabara. I love PDG. It's one of my favorite stores, primarily because the staff is so nice. But I picked PDG because I know they have a high sell-through rate. They also focus on these kind of collection type of cards, like collection pieces, more niche cards you'll often see from PDG. I mean, they also have plenty of the more common cards as well, of course. But I figured some of these cards, some kind of more niche, older, low pop cards, they might be quite interested in them. But I also knew that maybe the offers from PDG wouldn't be the best simply because of their high sell-through rate. They price cards to sell. I wouldn't call it cheap. I wouldn't call any Japanese card store cheap, but PDG has competitive pricing. And so I felt like maybe they won't give me the best prices, but we'll see, right? And then the next store I went to was Sneaker Dunk. Now, Sneaker Dunk is an interesting one. I mentioned it in my last walk and talk a while ago. I think it's a bit of a tourist trap. Sneaker Dunk is more known for their website, where they act as this kind of middleman authentication service. You buy something from a private seller, they ship it to a Sneaker Dunk, and they authenticate it and ship it to you. But Sneaker Dunk has physical locations in Tokyo. Their store in Akihabara is like a regular card store. They buy and sell cards, but everything is a little bit expensive. You can probably find some deals if you really look closely or carefully, but usually the stuff that I look at seems very expensive. We'll have some examples here today later on. And I felt like, since the prices are so high, maybe they'll also offer a lot of money, right? I mean, they are located right next to the main exit of the JR station in Akihabara. They're right across the street from the famous Radio Kaikan. It's on the ground floor, open doors, a lot of tourists in there all day long. It's like maybe they'll pay a lot of money to the locals to sell these cards to the tourists at these high prices. Did they do that? We'll find out. And then the third place I went to, so this was more of a spontaneous one, I gotta say. I didn't have that one planned initially, but Sneaker Dunk took so long with their offer. When I got there, I had ticket number 24 when I gave them my cards. And when I got the message to go back and get the offer, 4.5, 5 hours had passed. Very slow. It took a long time. In Japan, they carefully inspect each slab. They look at each card very, very carefully. If it's not a clean 10, they're not going to give you the best offer. That's just how Japan works. I think in the West, the number itself is a lot more important, unless you're Jodo Jake, shout out. But yeah, Japan, they really look at the cards inside the slab. The number is just a number. But it took a long time. And so I only had a little bit of time left. And I was like, you know what? I'll go to Otachu instead of Magi, which is famous for their buy lists, or Fukutoreka, which would have been interesting. I was like, let's do a bit of an oddball. And that was Otachu. Now, Otachu is in the same building as PDG. It's on the 8th floor, kind of sandwiched between the PDG 7th floor that has singles and boxes, and the PDG 9th floor, which is slabs and the buying corner. Odachi on the 8th floor, they focus on older cards. They do have some modern, but they primarily focus on vintage and mid-era cards. They also have a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Their e-reader section looked pretty empty this time around. It was kind of a sad sight to see. But they don't really do slabs. They're not known for slabs. They have a small selection of slabs at the counter in the display case. But I knew they were buying slabs, so I was like, this could be interesting for the video. I'll go to Otachu. Well, let's see what Otachu offered. Let's get to the results. So for each card, I have the shops listed at the top: PDG, Sneaker Dunk, and Otachu. That's the order that I went to those stores. And then I'll also have on the other screen, the next screen, I'll also have the pop reports. Well, of course, the offers, but then also the pop reports, because those are sometimes quite interesting. Or the PSA 10 population, I should say. I didn't include 9s, 8s, and 7s, and so on. And I have comps. I have eBay comps, so we have kind of an international idea of what these cards sell for internationally. But I also have comps from Medicari Japan, and so we can see what this stuff sells for online in Japan, and then we can kind of figure out if these offers are any good. And we'll go card by card. This is going to be in-depth data. I hope you like it as much as I do, but I love this kind of stuff. And I'll give you my opinion. And then at the end, I will reveal which cards I sold, and I'll show you what sick collection piece I bought with some of that money from those sales. Okay, let's start with the Aerodactyl V Altart from Lost Abyss. Here are the offers. PDG 16,000, Sneaker Dunk 15, and Otachu 12,000. It's a pop 5,073. Interesting. It's unbelievable to say, but it feels relatively low pop given today's numbers. The Burger Pikachu had 20,000 10s within a month and a half of the release. And this is Lost Abyss, the 6 set. Only 5,000 PSA 10s. But recent sales on eBay average out to about 21,000 yen. And then Mercari Japan, we are at 19,000 average. By the way, I'm using yen. It's what I'm used to. It's what I live with in my everyday life. But I think if you're doing some buying and selling of Japanese cards, I'm sure you're very used to the yen by now, the conversion rate. And if not, Google's your friend. I'm sorry. It's just much easier for me. It makes more sense for me this way. But yeah, I think these are okay offers. The range, in yen isn't that much. 4,000 yen difference between highest and lowest. The colors are just, by the way, high. Green, middle offer, yellow, and low offer, red. 4,000 yen isn't that big, but in percentage-wise, it's quite a big difference. I think 16,000 yen by PDG is a pretty good offer, considering the sales on Mercari are about 19,000 yen. Mercari has 10% selling fees. So I think that's a pretty good offer. I'm not surprised Otachu only offer 12,000 yen. As I mentioned, they focus more really on the vintage and mid-era cards. But yeah, that's the Aerodactyl. Did I sell it? We'll find out later. Next up, we've got the spike-eared Pichu from the movie Commemoration Random Pack. And this one, our offers were 30,000, 28,000, and then 40,000 by Otachu. It's a pop 510. eBay last solds are on average 45,000 yen. However, important to note here, it's a big range. As low as 31, as high as 70, 70 being the most recent. Interestingly, when I was in Tokyo doing this whole thing, I uploaded a couple of Instagram stories kind of announcing this video and showing some of the slabs. Someone messaged me and said, "Hey, I'm the Pichu guy. I'm the one who's buying all the Pichus." And he jokingly said, "I'm pumping the card." I don't know if it's serious or not. I don't know if it's true, but that was kind of weird. So that 70,000 yen sale, take it with a grain of salt, I would say. But It's just a big range. What's more interesting, I think, is that in Japan on Medicari, there are several sales and they average out to 51,000 yen. So I think it's safe to say this card sells for more in Japan than on eBay if you exclude the 70,000 yen most recent buy now. As far as the offers go, I think Otachu at 40,000 is a decent offer. The others feel a little bit low in this market right now, but not bad. Then we have, okay, now we're getting to the A&A promos. The Pikachu and the Manaphy. I should say here, it's a sequential set. Now, I made a point not to mention anything to the stores. I just dropped off my slabs, that's it. I didn't say that it's a sequential set. I didn't mention anything about these two promos being released together in the same little booklet, right? I just wanted to see if they themselves mention anything about that the cards are a set, they are released together as a set, and that maybe also that, you know, it's a sequential set. I was just curious, would they say anything themselves? Does it matter to them, or maybe it doesn't matter at all? Well, here are the results. On the Pikachu, PDG offered me 170,000, Sneaker Dunk 120, and Otachu 110. And if we look at the Manaphy, PDG offered me 15, Sneaker Dunk 7, and Otachu, it's not that they didn't offer me anything. Otachu was the only store that mentioned these being a set. On the Kaitori, Kaitori is then the name for, you know, buying cards. You know, it's called Kaitori. And on the piece of paper that they give you, they had both the Pikachu and the Manaphy, Season Manaphy, on the same line as one item, basically, and offered me 110,000 yen. And so interesting that they were the only place that mentioned anything about these being a set, but they had by far the lowest offer. I mean, compared to PDG, you know, you combine both cards, it's 185,000 yen offer, Sneaker Dunk 127. So that was quite interesting. Despite acknowledging them as a set, the lowest offer. But I think that's maybe because this is very hard to comp. You know, they're both very low pop 89 and 53. I'd imagine it's a sequential set that's pretty scarce. As for the recent sales, there was a sale in May for a sequential set, 322,000 yen. I actually know the person who bought that, not personally, but online. They confirmed that they bought that. They actually messaged me before buying the one on eBay and asked me if I was willing to sell them my sequential set. And then in June, there was a sale for just the Pikachu for 286,000. In Japan, there's no sales in the last 6 months. There's a 66,000 yen sale for the Pikachu sometime before that. On Medicari, it only goes to 6 months. After that, it will just say older than 6 months. So I don't know when that 66,000 yen sale was, but nothing recently. And the Manaphy, there's just no recent sales for the Manaphy. There's not much listed either. I don't think anything listed in Japan. Maybe on eBay some cards, but yeah, no recent sales. Of course, the one Manaphy sold in this sequential set right here. But yeah, as for the offers, I think 185 from PEG is a pretty strong offer. These comps are just, you know, you have to take them with a grain of salt. They don't mean all that much, to be honest. But it's significantly lower than those sales. So, you know, the one in June, the Pikachu alone sold for significantly more than that, like 100,000 yen more. That's a pretty big difference. I think PDG might have had the best offer here because PDG really likes sets. For some reason, PDG loves sets. Whether it's raw singles or graded cards, they often try to sell things as sets, cards that belong together. They'll have them in the showcase as sets with one price. For example, when I went there, the evening after arriving in Tokyo, I went to have a look in the store. They had a Masaki promo set. And the next day it was gone. That was kind of crazy. But yeah, many slabs as sets. So maybe that's why they offered a little bit more, because they like to sell cards as sets. Would they have sold this as a set? I'd imagine so. But yeah, did I sell these to PDG? We'll find out. All right, now we have Professor Elm's lecture. A more modern cards, definitely easier to comp, more sales than those other cards. And here we got the following offer: 17, 10, 20. 869 pop, eBay recent solds, average 29, and the Medicari Japan 24. I think given that the Medicari last few sales average at 24. I think a 20,000 yen offer by Otachu is very strong. If you factor in the merit card selling fees, etc. I think the Sneaker Dunk offer at 10,000 yen is really low, shockingly low, but maybe Sneaker Dunk just really doesn't really want trainer cards right now. That could be a factor, who knows, but the Otachu offer, definitely a strong offer. PDG is okay on this one, I think. Then next up, this is a very spicy one. The non-holo Pikachu from the Rampardos the Attacker half deck unlimited. Important to note here, in this case, the first edition is a little bit rarer or scarcer in a 10 than the unlimited copy. Here are the offers. 8, 5, 18, Pop 18, Pop 18. So first edition, there's even less of these in 10s, but even unlimited, even though there's more, 18 is crazy low these days. 8,000, 5,000, 18,000. I think Otachu was the only store that thought this card was kind of cool. Sneaker Dunk, 5,000 yen is kind of a joke. I mean, the grading fees these are 3,000 yen. That's like, feels like giving it away for free at this point. PDG, still a very low offer. If we look at the comps, eBay, there was one sale for an unlimited copy recently that sold for 48,000 yen, and there was one in Medicati, an unlimited 10 just 2 weeks ago. Very recent, sold for 122,000 yen. Now, I can't confirm if this is real or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. In this market, such a low pop card, there are probably enough kind of hardcore Pikachu master set collectors out there who just need that card. And so, man, it's tough. It's really tough. It also kind of shows that like low pop, it can be crazy. Like the stores certainly didn't think this was worth all that much, but some people online did. I mean, even the 48,000 yen sale on eBay is significantly higher than any of these offers. But I think Otachu were the only ones that were like, yeah, this is kind of neat. Well, we have another non-holo Pikachu from a deck coming up, I think. It's a 20th anniversary X and Y starter pack Pika. So this one is more popular, seemingly. PDG offered me 38 and Sneaker Dunk 70,000 yen. Now, Otachu, it's not that they didn't offer me anything. I sold the card to Sneaker Dunk. So this is a bit of a spoiler, I guess. This is one of the cards I sold, and I sold it to Sneaker Dunk. It's a Pop 217, eBay most recent sales 59. The two most recent ones, however, are 66. So it's kind of going up a little bit, it feels like. Made in Japan, it's sort of the similar story here. We got the 76 average, but the most recent 94. But that was a sale of 2 copies, sequential set of these, for 188,000 yen. So I just took half of that to get the number for one copy. Maybe there was a bit of a premium on that sequential set for the 2 cards, the 2 copies that the buyer was willing to pay. Hard to say, but yeah, I sold it to Sneaker Dunk. I felt like 70,000 yen was a lot of money for this card. This is one of those cards I got back in 2016 out of a deck, and the deck comes with 2 copies, and I still have one in the grading pile. When I graded this one, I picked this one because I felt a little more confident about this one, but I'll have to look at that other one again. Yeah, it's just crazy to think that a card like that is now worth so much money. And I think the offer was really fair. Could I have maybe sold it for a little bit more online? Potentially, right? But 70,000 yen was a very strong offer from Sneaker Dunk. Interesting to note as well here, we got 2 Pikachu non-holos, both from decks. So they're not, they're not pullable out of booster packs. They come from decks, just decks, both non-holos. This one being significantly older, 2007 versus 2016, significantly lower in pop, 18 versus 217, yet this one sells for much more. Well, at least the stores are willing to pay more. If you look at the online sales, then this one sold for more. That's the issue with low pop stuff. It gets crazy like that. I think this one is just a more popular artwork. It's also Nishida. Nishida is a pretty popular artist in Japan. I think that's why this one is so much more expensive in Japan. Consistently more expensive. This is like a one-off sale, obviously. But yeah, very interesting to see. And, I'm glad I sold it. Let's put it this way. Next up, from the same starter pack, we have the Mega Charizard EX. Obviously has kind of gone crazy recently because Inferno X. Well, what did the stores offer? PDG 100,000, Sneaker Dunk 130, and then Otachu 125. It's a pop 1,030. eBay last solds are 137. However, it's trending down with the most recent one being 116 in an auction. Medicare Japan has a very high average at 163, but there are currently many listed. I'll throw up a picture. Many, relatively speaking, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that, but several listed, with low list being 138-ish, I think, and they're not flying off the shelves right now. So both eBay, Medicare, the trend seems to be going down. That Medicare average is primarily being kind of held up by a 200,000 yen sale some weeks ago or a couple months ago, I think. Considering the card looks like it's trending down, I think 130 and 125 by Sneaker Nugget and Otachu are very strong offers, in my opinion. Very, very strong offers. Well, here's another great example of Sneaker Dunk pricing. They had a PSA 10, this card in a PSA 10 for sale in the store, and they had it priced at 200,000 yen. So either it was just an old comp or it's the tourist tax. So be careful what you buy there, people. But yeah, oh my god. When I saw that one in the store for sale at 200,000 yen, I was like, ooh, I might get a really good offer on this card. And I looked on the Sneaker Dunk website. So this is not their store. This is someone, again, private individual selling cards, but someone had one listed in intent for 130. So then I felt like, okay, there's no way they're going to offer me more than 130 because in that case, they could just buy the one that's listed on their website. Yeah, they also marked, by the way, on this card. They had a little post-it note attached, like a great creator notes that said on the back bottom left corner is a small issue. I had a really hard time seeing it. It's one of those factory cut type of things where there's like a little bit of a white line. It's not whitening the way we think of whitening. Some people will know what I'm talking about. It was very hard to see, but they marked that as a problem, but still offered 130K. And again, looking at the comps, I think there's some really strong offers here. Did I sell it? Maybe. It's a cool card. Next up, the Rayquaza EX Pokemon Center promo. Here we got 40, 50, 40. So relatively close offers here. 265 pop. eBay last sold 62. Medicare Japan 40, with the most recent one being the highest at 60 and low list being currently 57. I think Sneaker Dunk's offer is pretty fair. 50,000 yen seems like a good offer. Not much else to say here. Could be a little bit higher maybe, but feels pretty good. PDG of the 340 is not that bad either, I think. Then we have the black and white 108 Pikachu. So this is another pretty spicy one, a very interesting one. PDG, 60,000. Sneaker Dunk, twice as much at 120. And Otachu, 200,000. More than 3 times as much as PDG. It's a pop 115. eBay last sold July 24th, 92,000 yen. Currently, there's only 2 listed by the same seller out of Australia. They're both listed at 487. Medicare Japan is quite interesting. 60 days ago, there was a sale for 160K. 15 days ago, very recent, a sale for 250K. And then 9 days ago, a sale for 200K. That one sold within 2 days, very quickly. And there are none listed right now on Medicare Japan. So this was interesting. PDG's offer very, very low. I don't know why they only offered 60K. I don't think they were trying to lowball me, hoping I wasn't aware of the comps. They must just have some old comps somewhere, or maybe they've had one in the past and they had a hard time selling it. I'm not sure, but that is very low. I mean, the card was worth 80,000 yen a year ago. And we all know how much the market has changed in that last year. So that one surprised me when I saw that number. When I went to Sneaker Dunk 120, I felt more comfortable with that. Seemed more reasonable. And then Otachu just straight up matched the last sale on Medicare at 200,000 yen. Well, technically they beat it because the Medicare sale was 199,999, but same thing, right? Yeah, strong offer, I think. Yeah, there's not much else to say here. They just matched the most recent sale. It's like, if you think about it, you go to a card convention, Collecticon or something, you go up to a vendor with $1,000 slab, and you're like, hey, how much will you pay for this? No vendor is going to say $1,000, right? So it's kind of unheard of. I was pretty surprised when I saw this. But let's move on. I think we got one more card before I get to the reveal of which cards I sold, and then my final thoughts and also what I picked up for the collection. So the last card is, of course, the Hoopa 155 XYP. And this one, all stores offered exactly 80,000 yen. A beautiful last offer here, all exactly the same. Pop 1,504. Again, in today's world, feels low pop, crazy to say. eBay average last sales are about 123. I scrolled down quite a bit to see if there's like any kind of price trend up, down or something. And it just seemed pretty stable, pretty steady at about 120. Made a cut in Japan a little lower at 105. There's some low lists at 105. But there's a last sold at 76 recently. Someone just wanted to get rid of it, I guess. That happens sometimes in Japan. And sellers just want to get rid of something, they'll just undercut everyone else by like 25%. When the Japanese market crashed in 23, that's the level of undercutting that was going on. And that's how prices came down so fast. I'm not sure why that person wanted to get rid of it so bad. Maybe just anticipating a crash or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, I could see this card come back down significantly in the like near to midterm future. Wouldn't surprise me, but at least right now, any card shop seemingly would have given the person a little bit more for that. 80,000 yen seems okay. Not. I wouldn't call it like an amazing offer for this card, but I think it's pretty reasonable. I think the Card Rush had one for sale at about 80,000. So taking that into consideration, seems reasonable. I guess pretty good. So yeah, not bad. Okay. Let's look at the overview and the final results. I have already kind of summarized on this screen. Yeah, kind of shrunk down so it fits on one screen. On the left, by the way, the picture is the piece of paper, Kaitori paper from PDG. There's all the offers on there with the total. On the right, it's from Otachu, handwritten. And then you can also see there the ANA Pikachu and then the Manaphy Nimai Setto, it says here, a 2-sheet set, right, when they combine them together. I wasn't allowed to take pictures in Sneaker Dunk, so I don't have anything to look at from a Sneaker Dunk, but trust me, the numbers are real. I can confirm that for sure, trust me. But yeah, here we are. Here's the total. PDG would have offered me 574 in total, Sneaker Dunk 635, and Otachu 645. Important to note, I did not have the Pikachu non-holo starter pack anymore when I went to Otachu. So they had one card less to make an offer on, but still beat everyone else. That's worth noting. That's significant, especially because I mentioned in the beginning, Otachu isn't really known for slaps. They're not a slap store. You don't go to Otachu for slaps. Maybe they sell them online. I'm not sure. But they had the strongest offer by far, considering they had one less card to make an offer on. They would have even beat Sneaker Dunk by a lot. But even with one card less, they beat PDG by 71,000 yen. There's a 71,000 yen difference between PDG and Otachu. That 71,000 yen buys you a pretty sick card. Also, I kind of calculated the optimal result if you were to like min-max. Like for example, if I had sold the Aerodactyl to PDG, the Pichu to Otachu, the ANA promos to PDG, so on and so forth, right? Always went with the best place possible. The total value would have been 809,000 yen, which is crazy. Right? That's a big difference as well. But it's important to point out right here, min-maxing is next to impossible. If you think about the example of the Pikachu that is sold to Sneaker Dunk, you have to make those decisions very quickly. You do not have a lot of time to think. And they're telling you, are you going to take the offer or not? If you go back the next day, you say no, you go back the next day, you might get different prices. So like, it's really tough. And so you end up selling cards and then not knowing, obviously, no way to know what other stores would have offered. So I think min-maxing is almost impossible. There's also no real pattern here. It's not like this place consistently offered the most for this type of card. The sample size is, of course, very small. But yeah, I mean, PDG had by far the best offer on the ANA promos. Otachu had by far the best offer on the 108 Pikachu. And then Sneaker Dunk had a really strong offer on the non-holo Pika that I sold to them. They had the highest offer by a little bit, but they had the highest offer on this Charizard and the Rayquaza. There's no real pattern here. I don't know. It's very interesting to me. So the lesson for people who want to sell in Japan to cards is like go to as many different places as possible and know the prices, know what you're willing to sell something for. Um, you can try and go back and get the same offer again. You can give that a try, of course. I just didn't have the time to do that. So what did I sell? So I sold this card to Sneaker Dunk for 70. I did sell the Charizard, but I did not sell it to Sneaker Dunk. I sold it to Otachu. And this is exactly the type of issue I am talking about. When I was in Sneaker Dunk, looking at the offers with people behind me in line, I thought about it. I was like, man, it's a really good offer, but I really like this card, and I'm not sure if I want to let it go. Maybe I can, if I were to sell it, I might be able to get more for it on Medicare, looking at the recent sales and this maybe. And then I was just like, I said no. I left Sneaker Dunk, went to Otachu, and once I dropped off the cards at Otachu, I thought about it again. I was like, you know what, that offer by Sneaker Dunk was a very, very strong offer. I'm not sure I could get this much if I sold it myself right now. Before fees, I should have probably taken it. And so when I went back to Odachu when they had my stuff ready and they offered 125, I was like, I'll take it. At the end of the night, end of the evening, just before they closed, and the next morning I had to, leave Tokyo to go to Kyoto. 5,000 yen less than I could have gotten for it, but it's close enough, right? Close enough. And I really like Odachu. I was happy to sell it to them. We talked about the cards a little bit, had a nice conversation, and they're super cool people there as well. So I sold this one to Otachu, and then I sold the black and white Pikachu also to Otachu. As I explained already kind of before, the 200,000 yen offer was just a very strong offer. To have the last sold one matched, you can't really complain about that. What I will say is that this is such a low pop card, and there's none listed right now. It's possible that I could have taken this card home, thrown it up on Medicari for, I don't know, 300,000 yen, and maybe it would have sold within a week. Completely possible in this market. Wouldn't have shocked me at all, especially if you look at a sale like, this non-holo half deck sale right here from 122. That could have been possible. However, that's an if, and maybe, potentially. I was more than happy with 200,000 yen. I got this out of the sealed beginning set that it came in for, I think, 26,000 yen. Paid the grading fees, some up charges on it. All in, call it like 33,000 yen all in. To get 200,000 yen for that is crazy to me. I can't believe some of these prices, man. Like all this stuff, or a lot of this stuff has like doubled, tripled, quadrupled in the last year. Absolutely insane. So 200,000 yen to me was more than a fair offer, and to not have to do any work for it. It's important to point out, most of these cards I had listed for sale in Switzerland. These were the cards that didn't sell. I think I didn't have the Aerodactyl and the Professor Elm listed. I think I decided against listing those in Switzerland. But everything else was listed in Switzerland for 2 months for sale as buy it now. So I got some offers, nothing serious. The Pikachu 108 I had listed in Switzerland for less than 200,000 yen. I did the math, the conversion. I had it listed for about 180,000 yen in Switzerland, in Swiss francs, of course. That platform also has a 10% selling fees. And I would have been happy to sell it at any time during those 2 months. I would have been happy to sell it in Switzerland for that money. And now, coming back to Japan, the day after landing, I get offered more than what I had it listed at in Switzerland before fees. It was like, yeah, I can't say no to that. Let's not be ridiculous here. The last time Japanese was booming in 23, well, 22, 23, I kind of dragged my feet a little bit. I didn't sell as much as I should have. That last month, May into June 23, when it really exploded and went parabolic, I was out in the field doing research for a month. I couldn't even sell cards. And when the market crashed afterwards, I felt like, oh man, I kind of missed out. I probably should have sold a lot more cards leading up to that last month. And so I kind of told myself, if there's another boom like this or even close to this, I'll sell more cards. I'll make an effort to try and sell more cards. And some of these now went to card stores, which I did not expect. I was expecting a lot lower offers, but I'm very happy with the cards I was able to sell to the stores. I even considered selling some of the other ones. I'm happy to keep those though. But yeah, um, you can't be too greedy. When you get a decent offer, it's worth taking, um, especially considering how much the cards cost me. Two of those came from a deck I opened in 2016 for fun, and then the other one I had very little in compared to what it's worth now. So yeah, it made sense to me. So in total, I sold cards worth 395,000 yen, 200, 125, and 70. Just shy of 400,000 yen. Had I sold the Charizard to Sneaker Dunk, I would have hit exactly 400,000 yen. Oh well, that's a good chunk of change, and I used part of that um, to buy something cool for the collection. So let's reveal that. I have this list online in my Google Drive of things that I would like to add to the collection. Some of it is very specific towards certain collection goals. Other stuff is just kind of stuff that I think is pretty cool that I would like to own. And the item that I purchased with some of the money I got from selling those 3 cards, just 3 cards, insane. I think it's all crazy right now. But um, yeah, with some of that money, I bought one of those items that I think is very cool, that I'm happy to have in the collection. I added it to that list about a year ago, a little more than that, but around the time when I started looking at Japanese Sun and Moon boxes, slightly older Japanese boxes, this one made the list. And because of these card store sales now, I finally pulled the trigger. And yeah, I picked up this booster box. GX Ultra Shiny SM8B. In English, I think it's Hidden Fates. Beautiful, beautiful box art. I like the set. I think there's some dope shinies in there, the full art shinies. But I just love the box art. The Rayquaza, the Charizard, the Espeon, the Ho right at the right front and center. It's just such a sick box, and it was one of those boxes on that list that I was like, it's kind of a must-have. Like everything else, it's gone up recently in price, unfortunately. But compared to some other boxes, it hasn't doubled. Some boxes have doubled over the last year. This one hasn't doubled yet. Um, maybe it will never. Maybe we'll go back down. Who knows? I'm not going to predict these things. But because it hasn't doubled yet, it felt like a good time to buy it. And I'm happy now having it in the collection. You know, when cards get expensive, a PSA 10 Pikachu for 200,000 yen that might be worth even more, Ghana, who knows, right? Um, I get a bit uncomfortable when I have cards like that in the collection, PSA 10s. Makes you feel a bit uneasy. I'm more comfortable with boxes that are a bit more pricey. Now, this isn't anywhere near 200,000 yen, by the way. I think it's more expensive in Japan than it is outside of Japan. And I also made sure to get it from a good source. So I paid the Japan premium, and then I paid the good source premium. But it's still, it's not close to 200,000 yen. Um, but still the pricey box, obviously. But I'm much more comfortable when boxes are expensive, if that makes sense. Maybe a topic for a future video. But I hope you enjoyed it. What do you think about these numbers? I mean, the offers. I was only able to go to 3 stores. Would have loved to go to Magi and Fukufuku Toreka and some of these other places. But I think I picked some interesting stores, 3 interesting ones. And I was shocked by the range primarily. There can be such a huge range. Of course, for some of these low pop niche cards, you'd expect a bit of a range there, right? But some of the differences were crazy. Um, would you have sold the same cards as me? Would you have sold any cards? Would you have sold more cards than me? I'd love to know. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.